welcome to Archive X, the realm of mysteries and discoveries.
Do you think the history of mankind is just boring dates and clear facts? What about the finds that are literally imprinted into ancient rocks and have been making scientists argue for decades? We used to think that the past has been studied for a long time, the first people, simple tools, and gradual development. But few people know that there are real anomalies behind this beautiful picture. Giant footprints in rocks and strange objects in mines have baffled science many times, proving that we know almost nothing about our ancestors. Today, we will find out how a huge footprint ended up on a famous rock that is billions of years old. Let's figure out why official science often turns a blind eye to such facts and see evidence that completely breaks our ideas about time. And at the very end, you will understand why these footprints are considered the main mystery of archaeology, how humanity manages to find an explanation where logic is powerless, and what nature really hides from us. Are you ready to rewrite history? We begin our journey into the past. At the beginning of the 20th century, a local hunter was making his way through dense thickets in the Mpumalanga area. South Africa was red hot that day. The hunter was chasing game and decided to climb a high granite cliff to explore the surroundings. Clinging to the ledges with his fingers, he climbed a well-known slope and suddenly froze. Right in front of his face, there was a giant human left footprint on the vertical wall. The man reached out to the stone and touched the depression. His palm completely disappeared into the thumbprint, which looked as if it had stepped out of the ground into soft clay just a minute ago. Today, this object is known as the Goliath Trail. Its length is 120 centimeters, but the most striking thing is its position. The trail froze vertically, as if a giant was walking straight up the wall. Geologists explain this absurdity simply. The Mpumalanga region is one of the oldest cores of the Earth's crust. For billions of years, the tectonic plates have been making unimaginable movements. They literally broke out the rock layers and deployed them at 90 degrees. What was once a horizontal bath has turned into an impenetrable sheer cliff. Later, researchers climbed this plateau. They began to examine every inch of the find and noticed a critical detail. One of the scientists ran his hand along the edges of the print and felt distinct stone ripples. It was not an even cut with a tool. The granite looked as if a viscous mass had been squeezed out on the sides under a monstrous weight. Neither wind, nor water, nor an ancient craftsman with a dolomite could have imitated such a deformation of solid rock. Here we are faced with a technical paradox. According to the laws of physics, granite is born deep in the bowels. It freezes under enormous pressure at a temperature of hundreds of degrees. But in order for a clear footprint to remain on it, the rock had to be on the surface itself, and at the same time maintain the consistency of warm plasticine. Official science cannot clearly explain how granite could remain soft in an era when the planet had not even formed an atmosphere. The depth of the dent in the heel area reaches several centimeters. Calculations show that in order to push through the stone like that, the creature had to weigh tens of tons. If you keep the proportions of the man, his height reached 9 meters. Skeptics call this an erosion game, but take a closer look. The anatomical precision of the 5 fingers and the perfect arch of the foot look too perfect for the whim of nature. It was as if this footprint had been imprinted into the most durable material on the planet so that it would pass through eternity. He makes us doubt every word of the textbooks. And most worryingly, Goliath from South Africa was not alone. Similar tracks are found all over the globe. If the African Mpumalanga giant seems like a fantasy, then the discovery in Tanzania is the foundation of science. In the late 70s, Mary Leakey's expedition made a world-class discovery. In the Laetoli area, they found a chain of prints that were literally frozen in time. These are not just footprints, they are genuine evidence of how our history began. Sedimentary volcano erupted here 3 million years ago. A huge cloud of ash covered the savanna, and all living things turned into a gray desert. But then there was a short tropical rain. He turned the layers of dust into a viscous semblance of fresh cement. The hot African sun quickly dried out this mass. It is turned into a durable tuff. This is how nature created a unique freeze frame from the life of our distant ancestors. They walked this earth long before the first man appeared. The importance of Laetoli cannot be overestimated. The chain of 70 prints belongs to 3 individuals. They were confidently walking in the same direction. The most amazing thing was revealed upon detailed analysis. Their gait was almost exactly like ours. These creatures already had a well-defined arch of the foot. The big toe was not extended to the side for climbing trees like a monkey's. It was looking straight ahead. This was a devastating proof for scientists. Our ancestors stood on 2 legs much earlier than their brain began to grow. The conclusion is simple. First, we learn to walk, and only then we learn to think. There is a real drama hidden in the details of this find. One of the walkers was much larger than the others, and the other was stepping right into his footprints. Whether this was an ancient game, an attempt to make one's way easier, or a deliberate imitation of the leader, we don't know. But on that fateful day, antelopes and ancient horses ran alongside them. There were even yellow-toothed cats. Their paws are also frozen in this stone archive. This discovery posed a difficult question for science. Why did the evolution of the foot come to an end so quickly and efficiently? At the same time, the rest of the body continued to change for millions of years. Laetoli reminds us that some parts of our past have already been deciphered, but we are just beginning to realize their true meaning. In 2021, a group of biologists worked in the New Mexico desert. They studied the landscape of the White Rocks National Park. One of the researchers squatted at the edge of a gypsum dune and began to carefully sweep away a layer of white dust. A clear outline of a human foot appeared under his hand, then another and another. There was an endless trail of footprints in front of him that defied logic. These prints were frozen in layers of dirt thousands of years ago. There used to be a lot of life here. It was the height of the Ice Age. Along with human footprints, the prints of huge mammoths and giant sloths have been preserved in the reservoir. But the most vivid detail were the children's footprints. Judging by the chaotic direction, they were merrily running after each other. They jumped into puddles and circled on the spot. While the adults nearby were doing hard work, the children were just enjoying the moment. These small prints have transformed dry archaeology into a living drama. The sensation awaited the scientists a little later. In the laboratory, one of the specialists carefully extracted a tiny grain from under the heel of a child's footprint. These were the seeds of an aqua plant, Ruppia. Carbon dating revealed figures that were initially thought to be equipment failures, 23,000 years old. The results of the New Mexico analysis were extremely unexpected. Up to this point, all the textbooks had said one thing: the first person to enter America at most 13,000 years ago. 10,000 years difference is not just a mistake, it's a whole chasm. It turns out that humanity has mastered the continent twice as early as is commonly believed. The new data sparked fierce debates. The skeptics didn't give up. They claimed that the seeds could have absorbed ancient carbon from the water and distorted the result. But the scientists conducted repeated tests. The footprints in New Mexico have become irrefutable evidence. People flourished in the New World even at the height of the Great Glaciation. Wise showed us that the history goes much deeper. Our ancestors were much more resilient and mobile than we used to think. But if the finds in New Mexico simply shift the dates by thousands of years, then the evidence from Europe literally breaks the theory of evolution. We used to think that our ancestors left Africa relatively recently. However, the island of Crete holds evidence that leaves scientists speechless. While official science continues to search for the origins of humanity exclusively in the hot savannas of Africa, an accidental discovery on the Greek island of Crete has made the world of anthropology shorter. This happened in 2002. Polish researcher Gerard Gerlinski, while on a regular vacation, strolled along the west coast near the village of Trakalos. He noticed strange rhythmic depressions on the coastal rock. On closer inspection, they turned out to be a chain of 40 distinct prints. These traces are frozen in ancient sedimentary rock at the very edge of the sea. When the scientists carried out the dating, the results sounded like a bolt from the blue. The age of the rock was an incredible 5.7 million years. It seemed impossible at the time. The discovery pushed back the appearance of creatures with human feet to Europe millions of years before all existing theories. But it's important to take into account one geographical fact. Almost 6 million years ago, Crete was not yet an island. It was part of a huge single continent. The ancient wanderers could freely move through these lands for enormous distances without encountering water barriers. The analysis of these prints revealed even more surprises. The shape of the foot and the hairline turned out to be frighteningly modern. During the same period, famous Australopithecines such as Lucy lived in Africa, but their feet still retained features of monkeys and paws with long curved fingers. The Crete Trail shows a completely different picture. We see short fingers and a powerful thumb. It is tightly pressed to the stales and not set aside for climbing trees. Pressure marks are